Andrew here, and I'm about to say something that might make a few people uncomfortable. But I've learned over time that discomfort usually means we're getting close to the truth. Here's what I keep seeing. Men in their late 50s and 60s sitting confidently with a prenup tucked away in a filing cabinet, convinced they're protected. They paid the lawyer. They signed the documents. They followed instructions. They believe they did everything right. Then 2 years into marriage, they're standing in divorce court. The judge skims the agreement, asks a couple of questions, says one key word, duress. And just like that, it's gone. Hundreds of thousands of dollars evaporate in less time than it takes to order lunch. Before you jump in and say, Andrew, my lawyer said mine is airtight, let me ask you something simple. When has a single sheet of paper ever truly protected you from something that actually mattered? Think about it. Your house has layered protections. Your car title has layers. Your business has layers. Your retirement, the thing you built for 40 years, you're betting that on one document? From what I've seen, that's not protection. That's hope disguised as strategy. Let me explain something I've noticed after watching this pattern repeat. Prenups don't usually fail randomly. They fail predictably. And most men were never told that. The first way they collapse? Timing. If she's handed the document days before the wedding, deposits paid, guests invited, venue locked in, that's not protection in many jurisdictions. That's leverage. A judge can look at that and say she didn't have meaningful time to review it. And once the court rules coercion or pressure, the entire agreement disappears. Not adjusted, not partially enforced, gone. Second failure point? Disclosure. You listed your assets, sure, but what about that unvested stock? The side business you started? The inheritance still in probate? Courts don't care that you forgot. If full disclosure isn't airtight, the agreement can unravel. Third failure? Unfairness. You might think the strongest prenup is one where she gets nothing. Courts often see that as unconscionable. If the terms are excessively one-sided, the judge may invalidate the whole document. So 3 predictable weaknesses. And most men were told, don't worry, you're covered. That's layer 1. But here's what I've personally concluded. Real protection isn't one wall, it's multiple barriers. The men who protect themselves best don't rely on a single document. They structure ownership before marriage, one of the strongest tools, and irrevocable trust. When assets are placed inside a properly structured trust years before marriage, they don't belong to you personally anymore. They belong to the trust. Courts generally cannot divide what isn't yours. That's not hiding money. That's estate planning done in advance. Timing matters. If you build it before serious dating or well before engagement, it's difficult to argue it was created to dodge a specific person. Second layer, absolute separation of premarital property. No commingling. That means separate accounts. Clear documentation. No mixing marital income with premarital assets. Paper trails for everything. From what I've seen, most losses happen not because men had nothing, but because they blended everything. And one separate and marital property mix, courts can treat it all as marital. Third layer, postnuptial agreements. If you're already married, you're not powerless. A properly structured postnup, with independent counsel for both sides, full financial disclosure, and reasonable terms, can close some vulnerabilities that prenups leave exposed. Is it perfect? No. But it's another layer, and layers matter. Let me be clear about something. This isn't paranoia. This is math. Gray divorce? Divorce after 50 has doubled since 1990. Average losses for men can reach 20 to 30% of net worth. Without protection, that number climbs much higher. I've seen comments from men who lost $200,000, $400,000, even more, not because they were reckless, because they relied on one wall when they needed 3. Now here's the most important thing I've realized watching men navigate this stage of life. The men who handle this well don't seek approval for protecting themselves. They don't ask if it looks bad. They don't wait until they're emotionally invested. They secure themselves first, then they date, not the other way around. If someone genuinely adds value to your life, she won't require you to dismantle your safeguards to prove trust. And if she demands you remove protection in order to proceed, that's information. I'm not telling you not to marry. I'm not telling you relationships are impossible. I'm telling you that protection should be structural, not emotional. Build the trust. Separate the assets. Document everything. Consider a postnup if necessary. Then move forward from a position of strength. Because from my experience, the men who regret it are the ones who assumed love alone was enough protection. It isn't. My name is Andrew, and on Savvy Relationships, I talk about the side of commitment most people avoid because it sounds uncomfortable. But uncomfortable truth is cheaper than expensive regret. If this hit home, make sure you're thinking about protection before romance, not after. I'll see you in the next one.